Because if you're that far away from me, I'm going to have other interests. Now, here's another caveat that I want to throw in there.
All right.
Let's just say my wife lives in Charlotte and I'm living north of Baltimore where I live. If something happens to my spouse, I have that much time to travel to get to my spouse. If something happens to my child, I have that much time to travel to get to my child. If something happens to me, they have that much time to get to me. I can't be there for them when they need me. I can't physically be there for them when they need me. They can't physically be there for me if I need them. If I get hit by a goddamn truck and I got 3 hours to live, she lives 8 hours away and she can't get a goddamn flight for whatever reason, can't afford it, missed it, whatever. I die or they die, and the last time I saw them was a week ago. I could not live with that. Personally, I could not live with that. So I have several problems with being married to someone and we living apart. Let's just say my wife is at her house at home chilling. And I'm like, you know what? Shit, I'm chilling. I got my peace of mind. I kick my motherfucking feet off, my shoes off. I could walk around in my bare ass naked, whatever the case may be. Hit the wife up, no answer. Wife don't hit me back. Couple hours go by. Hit the wife up, no answer. Shoot a text. FaceTime. Try to call again, whatever. I hear nothing. Now, this is not even getting into the lack of trust thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just say, let me get my ass over and see what the fuck going on. Key in the door, open the door. She laid on the floor dead. Don't know how long she been on the floor dead, but she's dead. I cannot live with that because I felt it was a good idea and we felt it was a good idea for us to live separately. Now, that might be being extreme in most cases, but that's where my head is when it comes to that.
I get that. I totally get it. I think there are two things that we haven't even brought up yet, but we kind of hit around. And one is sex, two is love.
Mm-hmm.
One, when with sex, there are plenty of people who have sex with people that don't love each other. It's just sex, it's just an act. And then there are plenty of people who actually love someone, but they don't have sex with them.
Mm-hmm.
So the point that I'm making here is it comes down to each individual relationship and what the individuals within that relationship actually need from that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll just leave that there. But um, I don't know when it comes down to, and I get this whole scenario about, if, your spouse died and you lived in a different place, you would feel some type of way. I get that totally. For me, the way I look at that is it's kind of like my cousins, right? I
Mm-hmm.
love the hell out of my cousins. We talk often.
Mm-hmm.
But if one of my cousins, knock on wood, was to pass away and I can't get there right away, there's no fault, you know, on either side. That's just the way it unfolded.
But you can't
So
compare a cousin to a spouse to a degree.
I'm talking about the situation itself of being right there uh, if they were to pass away. That's the aspect that I'm talking about. But as far as like a actual spouse, would I feel some kind of way if I couldn't get to my wife if she passed away? Of course, I would feel something about it. For whatever reason, I may be out of town. I didn't get the call until late. Hey, so and so is in the hospital, and it's not looking good. She may have been in, God forbid, again, an accident or something like that while I was out of town. So yes, of course, I'm gonna feel some type of way. I would want to be there immediately, but if I couldn't, it's just the way, the situation unfolded.
But you still can't. Okay, so here's the thing: you're comparing uh, a cousin to a spouse in the aspect of if the cousin died, well, it's what it is. I couldn't be there. But your cousin, you've generally known all your life. You never had a desire to, in most situations, never had the desire to live under the same roof with your cousin. You don't have that same type of relationship with your cousin. You love your cousin, but you have no expectation of seeing your cousin every day unless y'all live in the same city and y'all hang out every day. With a spouse, that's a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
Now, if you are out of town on vacation, visiting family, boys' trip, work, whatever the case may be, and you're out of town, that's a totally different dynamic from my wife lives here and I live here. Because if you live here and your wife lives here, you're not out of town, you're at home. Your spouse is over there at home. You have two separate households. You're not out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just say you live in two different places and you happen to be out of town, away from home. That's still out of town. When it comes down to it, you two do not share the same household. You're hours away, hours away. Now, you go out of town, vacation, work, visit family, whatever the case may be, that is a different dynamic because if you live under the same roof, there's that expectation or understanding that when you go home, you're going home to the same place where your spouse lives. But if you live in two separate places, there is no, well, but I could be out of town. No, you live in two different places. You are never there at those times when your spouse needs you because you live elsewhere. So that's how I look at that.
I mean, but again, the thing about it is the choice was made within that relationship to live like that.
I understand that.
So
Totally understand that.
whether we be in the same city or a different country, it's basically the same thing. We both made that choice. So again, whether that person, something was to happen, you can't get there right away because you don't know. Now that's different. But
Mm,
if you're in the same city and like you said, you call, you check, and something comes across you and say, this isn't right. Let me go see what's going on. And you do get there, and you do find your mate in a incapacity state. At that point, it's kind of like it just unfolded that way.
mm,
You get what I'm saying? Kind of like, even if, let's say, you both lived in the same household, right?
mm,
And for whatever reason, you had to run out.
mm,
Uh, Maybe you had some errands to run, or you uh, need to go check on another relative, something like that. But anyway, uh, so you call your mate to ask about something certain, and you don't get an answer, and you're like, well, that's kind of odd. But anyway, you continue on, taking care of your errands or whatever, and again you call and you don't get an answer, and you're like, well, let me go and check. So by the time you make it back home, this person, uh, for whatever reason, is laying in a state of um, needing help, but you weren't there. So it's kind of like, again, that's just how it unfolded. So whether you live in the same household or not, um, when it's, for lack of a better term, when it's sometimes somebody's time to go, it's their time to go. So I couldn't feel any kind of way whether I stayed up underneath the same roof or I didn't.
Mhm.
If you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but um, when again, when I hear this topic come up,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's more so with people who are burnt out in marriage. Their hearts and minds are not fully there. They have come to the point in their life where we're just coexisting in this relationship. Um, and I'm just speaking from what I know, from who
Mm-hmm.
the people I've talked to. Um, and a lot of them don't have the mindset that, um, oh, it is what it is. If this happened to this person, well, it was their time ago. It doesn't matter this, that, and the other. Um, so again, if two people decide to want to live in separate houses and have separate lifestyles and stuff like that, that is something that that relationship they've pretty much grown out of. Um, if it's because one person works in one place and they make good money, and the other person has an opportunity to take a job elsewhere because that job in another city or another state is offering good money, that's a conversation that those two people have to have. Um, Getting back to Carrie Hilson, her saying the next time I get married, I'll be okay with us living separately. That yells at me, well, why the hell get married if that's your mindset beforehand? You're not even given the chance for to see how you would work, see if this is feasible. You're off the break saying the next time I get married, I'm okay with living separately. So the person that comes into your life, you springing that right on them off the break. Well, look, this is my view of marriage. What do you think? Not for me. Okay, not for you. I'm gonna go do me. You go do you. I don't. I personally do not. I just don't see me having a
Mm-hmm.
successful marriage like that.
I totally get it. I really do. Again, I'm just coming from a place of um, I'm so how can I put this? All right, let me ask you this then. Uh, Before you got married to each one of your wives, y'all live separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all came together for the most part after you were married. But
Um, Me and my third wife, we were living together before we got married.
but the thing about it is, right? You guys made the choice that we want to live together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you guys were living separately, you both agreed, "Hey, I love you." I want to say, "I love you too."
Mm-hmm.
The love was there, even though you weren't underneath the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm making is, whether you live with someone or you don't live with someone, the love is still there. Now, when it comes down to actually living up underneath the same roof, again, it comes down to choice.
Yeah.
Can we agree upon that?
Yeah.
All right. So what what I'm saying here is, for those people who don't live underneath the same roof, who have made that choice to live separately, the love is still there. Now, how they
Mm,
are, after being there for a while, um, of course they're both living their own lives separately, but still the love is still there.
mm,
That just, the way I look at it. And again, it's kind of like, for me, uh, and I'm speaking on the subject of love alone. Okay, so
mm,
that's why I need people to realize, I understand. I'm speaking on love alone. Whether you
mm,
live with someone or don't live with someone, you still love them. It's kind of like, for my parents, I don't see my dad as often as I would want to. I don't get a chance to go kick it with him as much as I want to, or we get to do things as much as I want to. But when I'm in his presence, he's in mine, the love is still there.
mm,
And I know that it's different, from the aspect of actually being married to someone. But again, um,
mm,
if you feel a certain way about somebody, you feel a certain way about them. No matter if they're right next to you physically or they're a million miles away from you. That feeling that you have for them, or those, um, I guess that chemistry or that dynamic of that relationship, it doesn't change.
mm,
Not saying that it can't change. Of course, over time, if you did not have that understanding from the get go, things may change.
mm,
I think for a lot of people though, they you know they may need that, uh as far as like actually having that same energy near them, being connected to someone. It has a lot to do with energy.
mm,
So when you're, married to someone and you're living underneath that same roof, then that energy, it interacts with each other. You know what I'm saying? You're two individuals, but that energy is something that's needed.
mm. So you asked, um, before I got married, he was living separately,
All right.
and the love was there, this, that, and the other.
True that.
Um, Here's the thing:
All right.
the first marriage, yes, we loved each other. We didn't live with each other before we got married. Okay, we were getting to know each other, um, but we had the expectation to live with each other when we were husband and wife. There was no expectation of I'm gonna live here, you're gonna live there, and that we're gonna make it work. There was no expectation of that. Um, but the second marriage, it wasn't even a thought, um, and it just wasn't even a thought. It wasn't a conversation. So again, it was unfair to her because I did me. Um, the third marriage, it was an expectation that after marriage we were going to live together. There was never a time in my first or third marriages where it was, yeah, we love each other, and I think we can make it work under separate roofs, living separate lives, and this, that, and the other. That was never a theory of marriage. That is not my idea of marriage. Um, Living under separate roofs, because if we're living separately, we have separate lifestyles, and we're going to come together, you know, here and there every now and then. Um, there was no job thing that had us living separately, um, and all of that. Um, so I can't with good conscience say that me being who I am, I would be okay with doing that. I just don't, because at times I can have a short attention span. And if you're not right there, I'm going to lose interest because you're not there. And then I'm going to think, well, if we're not living under the same roof, why the hell are we together? It just makes no sense to me. Now, if it's because of a job, I'm going to put in the air, we're going to have to find a way to where we are together, whether we relocate as a unit or we make a better decision on what the hell is going on. Because again, you take a job down in Texas making 150 grand a year, and I'm going to be over here in Maryland making 100 grand a year. You half the country away. What do you expect me to do in this time? What am I expecting you to do in that time? Like, so again, my mindset is, if people are there, most from the conversations that I've had with people, they're burnt out.
Would you say it's a different expectation though? When you say that your expectations of marriage are different than other people's though?
No. What I was, you talking about in the beginning? When I was saying that?
Yeah.
I was saying that when in my first and third marriages, we had the expectation of living together when we got married. It was never a thing where the conversation was going to maybe pop up that, well, what do you think about us living separately? That was never in the air.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have a part 2 to this. We didn't mean to let time get away from us like this, but we don't want to continue. We know people got things to do. So once again, we're going to thank everybody for joining the King and I Life podcast. We hope that your day is going great, and please look us up on all your major podcast platforms. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and we are really working hard to bring you that Patreon channel. We're just trying to build up more content there for you.
Yes,
So
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Just be patient with us. And if you have any questions, comments, or if you would like to join us on the King and I Life podcast, please email us at KINGANDEYE369@gmail.com. Again, that is kingandi369@gmail.com. And we want to thank you for tuning in with us.
Yes. And we'll see y'all next time. We're going to take it out with Miss Breezy with Road Time. Hit up my chicas, tell them where to meet me. Bring up my, tell them where to link me. Ping up my people, tell them try to keep up. Believe I'm turning off my phone, so you're going to have to link up. Cause around 10 o'clock on the dot, I'm trying to head out, hit the dark. No, it's cocked until the sun's up. Give me some scotch in the bud and then my hair.